Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom is a film that you can literally do a movie review of if you just watch every single trailer. This film is about Colin Trevorrow and Derek Connolly accidentally making a big hit, and now they have to find a way to make a sequel, and then plan for a third film. I enjoyed Jurassic World enough. No Jurassic sequel is ever going to live up to Jurassic Park. Like, that is just a fact that you can't make a Jurassic sequel better than the first one, because the first one is a film that literally doesn't require any sequels whatsoever. As soon as you start making sequels, they have to get dumber and dumber in order to exist. And I wasn't a big fan of The Lost World. I think that's a little just bleh, it's alright, and Jurassic Park 3 is like straight up terrible. Jurassic World, for how dumb that movie is, admittedly so, I still have a fun time watching it. Like, I've rewatched it multiple times because of how entertaining it is. Sure, it has its flaws, but can't deny that I have a blast whenever I watch it. So even though Colin Trevorrow was now stepping down, because at the time he was going to do episode 9, they replaced him with J.A. Bayona as director, he still had an involvement in the screenwriting with Derek Connolly. He and Colin had written a draft of the original Jurassic World with 2 other writers. So I was thinking, like, okay, J.A. Bayona, I haven't seen The Orphanage, but I hear that's a great horror film, and I haven't seen The Impossible, but I also hear that's really good. I have seen A Monster Calls, though, which I think is a beautiful film that J.A. Bayona directed excellently. So I was really excited to see what he could bring to the Jurassic franchise. Since J.A. and Colin Trevorrow are different directors as a whole, I was wondering how this film was going to be different from the next one, how they were going to continue the story. I wasn't hyped for it though. The trailers just kind of looked interesting to me. I wasn't hyped, but I was still curious to see how they could continue the franchise, and I was just hoping that this could at least be as entertaining as the first Jurassic World. Turns out that this is the most frustrated I've ever been watching a Jurassic movie. More so than Jurassic Park 3, because at least that one was consistently kind of terrible, and Fallen Kingdom is just so split down the middle that I have good, I have bad. There's a good movie in here somewhere, but the bad it just overcrowds it. At the end of the day, it's just a movie that has its moments, but Jesus Christ, does it have its bad ones too. So I'm going to try to make my thoughts very concise here, because there is a lot that I want to talk about. Obviously no spoilers, like no specific spoilers, but if you've seen a lot of the trailers and any TV spot on TV, then you've kind of seen all of the movie, so I'm basically just going to tell you what I already knew before seeing the movie. I won't spoil anything that I didn't know beforehand. First of all, let's talk about some returning characters. Chris Pratt playing Owen Grady. Now, his character doesn't really get much development in the first Jurassic World. They basically just introduce he was a Navy man, now he's training raptors, and he's the great hero male who has a lot of zingers. And now he was a fun presence in that one. For a sequel, you'd kind of want some more development with him, obviously, because that's the next step, flesh out the characters more. They didn't really do that with Owen. They just showed like a flashback of him training Baby Blue, and that was kind of sweet. That added a lot of heart to the relationship. You get to know a little bit more why he cares so much, but they don't really flesh out his character to like this new height. That being said though, Chris Pratt is still a charming dude. He is a great leading man, and his zingers in this movie are pretty hilarious, and I think he and Bryce Dallas Howard had some pretty good chemistry once again, like in the last film. Bryce Dallas Howard, though her character makes a choice early on in the movie that is terrible idea from the start, and anyone in the audience can predict, like, yep, that's a bad idea, but you're doing it. I thought you're supposed to be smarter than this, but Bryce Dallas Howard isn't bad as the role, and the character of Claire, I enjoy seeing her interact with Owen Grady a lot. Like, those two are good characters together. I don't have any problem seeing them on screen at all. Another character I like, Jeff Goldblum coming back as Ian Malcolm. For 1 minute tops. Like, if you saw the trailers and were afraid that Jeff Goldblum is only going to be in this scene, you're kinda right. He has more than one scene, but it's literally just one more than one scene, both very short, and he never goes to any other location, he's just in the same spot. He does have some pretty good lines, though, that I love, because Ian Malcolm is a smart character who has a lot of smart things to say about the world. Unfortunately, the movie goes about the dumb ways, but we'll get into that later. At least Ian Malcolm is still smart. Other than those 3 characters, and Jeff Goldblum is basically just a glorified cameo, I didn't care for a single human being in this film, like, at all. Like James Cromwell playing Lockwood, this elderly man stuck in a wheelchair who feels somewhat responsible for the dinosaurs on the island, so he wants to fund this project to save them and bring them to another island. Like, I thought they really wasted James Cromwell's talent. Like, I love the dude. Like, LA Confidential and American Horror Story Season 2, he's a great actor, and I was really expecting just a little bit more from him in this movie, but they really do just make him the old guy in a wheelchair, and he doesn't really add that much to the movie, unfortunately, and I thought that was a huge waste of the dude's talent. His top coworker guy, though, played by Raphael Spall, Eli Mills is the character's name, as soon as he appears on screen, I didn't even need to see the trailer. Like, you could just watch the movie, and you can literally predict from his entrance, like, rich bad guy. And you're right. For 1 second, though, this rich bad guy character introduced the thought of, hey, we're doing this bad stuff, but you guys are partly responsible for it too, like pointing out Owen and Claire. And I thought that was a little interesting if you could explore that a little bit more. They didn't. It's literally just like one line that kind of mentions it, and that's it. His character is then resorted to just generic rich bad guy who wants to get richer, and he's kind of involved with the militarizing dinosaur stuff and making more genetically modified ones to sell to multiple different places, and I thought his character sucked. I thought his acting was kind of generic. Sorry, Raphael Spall, but I didn't really care for you in this movie. Also, Ted Levine, who plays Buffalo Bill from The Silence of the Lambs, I was so shocked to see him in this movie. I didn't know he was in it, but as soon as he showed up, I was like, alright, I want to see what he can do, because he's a fantastic actor. If you have not seen Silence of the Lambs, he is resorted to just generic military guy. That's all he is, and seeing where else he goes in the movie, it's like, why are you even playing this character? Like, they did not need you, an actor of your caliber, to play this character. Even Toby Jones shows up to play one of these generic bad guys, and once again, you didn't need him for the part that he was playing. Like, you really did not need him at all for that part. Like, he's just like the auctioneer guy. But for some reason they got Toby Jones for that. He's not even in the movie for a long time. Why? He's a talented actor. Why do you have him? I don't know. I also really dislike how they're treating the character Henry Wu, played by B.D. Wong. In the first Jurassic Park, he is literally just a random worker who got more screen time than anyone else working at Jurassic Park. Other than that, he's basically just a nothing character. He's the background character. They brought him back for Jurassic World to head the new company that was making all of the dinosaurs for Jurassic World, and I was like, alright, it's nice to see him again, and he hasn't really changed that much. He's not really a bad guy. He's literally just doing what his job entailed and what Irfan Khan enabled him to do. This movie, however, they're trying to now supervillain him up. Basically, if I had to describe it, spoilers for Pacific Rim Uprising, they're basically pulling what they did with Charlie Day in that movie to him. Like in the first Pacific Rim, Charlie Day was just the geek who somehow managed to help save the world, and then in Pacific Rim Uprising you find out that he's been his mind has been taken over by the bad guys, and now his body is emulating the main top bad guy. And that's basically what they're doing in this one. They've taken just this simple guy from Jurassic Park, like just this minor character, and now he's a big supervillain, like a major part of the series. And I did not like that. Like, why do you have to do that to him? Why do you have to make another generic bad guy and also make it a character that I didn't hate before, but now I hate him? Geraldine Chaplin shows up for a bit, but they literally forgot that she was in the movie at one point, and she just kind of disappears. That was a little disappointing. There's a young girl, her name is Maisie in the film, not sure what the actress's name is. I will give her credit that she is much better than Ty Simpkins and the other guy who's in Love, Simon now. Like, she's much better kid performance than those two. I didn't like those two in Jurassic World. And she has a little bit more to do in the plot. Like, she doesn't feel as shoehorned in as those two. But at the same time, where her storyline kind of goes doesn't really feel as developed as it should be. Like, they do reveal something and you're like, oh shoot, how is this going to affect you as a character? Nothing too major until the very end of the movie, and even then it doesn't have the same impact because it's something they just revealed like 10 minutes ago. But hey, at least her performance is better than the other two kids from Jurassic World, whatever. The character Zia Rodriguez was just fine. There was some controversy, I guess. I recently saw like an article where it was like, the makers behind Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom cut a line of her dialogue that made reference to how she was a lesbian, and they were talking about how that was a good insight into what my character was. And after seeing the movie, a reference to how the character is a lesbian doesn't really flesh out her character at all. Like, if you had just added it into this movie, it wouldn't flesh her out in any other way. Like, she is just the character who is there, and she's fine. She's not annoying like another character who I'll get to in a second, Jesus Christ. But she's not fun or great like Chris Pratt or Bryce Dallas Howard. Like, she is just a there character. Not annoying you. She's there to do a specific thing, and she's fine at it, but not memorable at all. And just having one line referencing how she's a lesbian doesn't help flesh out her character any more than what they already did. It's just, oh, you revealed your sexuality. What does that tell me about you as a person? Like, what are your hobbies? What are your likes? What happened to you in the past? What made you to come here? Like, that doesn't reveal anything at all. So I don't know what the hoopla is about that. The worst character in this movie, by far, as much as I hated the generic rich business villain guys, Justice Smith's character, Franklin, hated him. I don't hate the idea of his character, which is to be afraid. And that's good, to have someone who's genuinely afraid, because Chris Pratt, he can be scared a little bit, but he has to be the main hero guy. So it's fine to have a character who is just afraid of everything, and it's not like a manly hero. They overdid it, though. Almost every scene, he's asking, like, is that the T-Rex? Is that the T-Rex? Don't tell me that's the T-Rex! We're gonna die from the T-Rex! Like, shut up! Like, he wouldn't stop complaining about how, oh my gosh, I think that's a T-Rex. Before they even get to the island, he's scared to get on the plane, and he's scared of the bugs, and he's like spraying himself while everyone else in like this car is trying to take it seriously, but then you just hear like shh going on him. He's just a whiny character who's there to be the whiny type. Like, there's literally a scene dedicated to just showing off how whiny he can be. You've seen it in the trailer. It's his infamous scream. And seeing where else that scene goes, like, it's so irritating. He's such an irritating character. Cut him out of the movie, because literally you can replace him with anyone. Replace him with another Zia Rodriguez character who is just fine in there. I'll take great, but if you just give me a fine one, okay, at least it's better than what they did with Franklin in this movie. So besides two characters, one glorified cameo coming back from Jurassic Park 1 and 2, I didn't like any of the characters. They all range from just forgettable and fine to downright awful. So you might be wondering, well, Jackson, you were disappointed by a lot of these characters, so what picked that up for you? I'd say the action sequences. J.A. Bayona really nailed it with these sequences. I feel like Colin Trevorrow made the more memorable action sequences, but I think J.A. Bayona had more skill to his action scenes that he created. Obviously, I don't think anything's going to top the T-Rex Blue versus Indominus Rex fight from the end of Jurassic World, but all these action scenes in this movie are considerably very exciting. When you're on the island and the volcano is starting to erupt, that genuinely had a lot of thrills to it, especially at one point where they have to go underwater and you have some suspense with that. Like, there's literally like a one-take shot of something going on underwater, and I thought that was pretty suspenseful. There's stuff later on in the movie when they do get into the horror movie-esque sequences, and I really enjoyed that too. I think J.A. Bayona has a really great eye for that. It makes me want to go see The Orphanage, because he has a lot of great cinematography moments, the way they utilize shadows and darkness with the Indoraptor, the new genetically modified dinosaur villain, and the fact that the design of it looks pretty cool in and of itself adds a lot to the suspense. And one of my favorite parts about the movie is the opening 5 minutes, which is just revisiting the wrecked Jurassic World at first, and you see some dinosaur attacks, and I thought that was a really great introduction to the fantastic action directing that we were going to get. The direction is the best part about the film. The screenwriting, however, is the worst part about this film. So basically, J.A. Bayona is not at fault for what I'm about to say about the script, or what I've said previously about how the characters are written. He nailed what he was supposed to do with the action horror-esque filmmaking, and I think he did a great job. Colin Trevorrow and Derek Connolly, though, really messed this up. And I thought Colin Trevorrow knew what he was doing because Jurassic World was a fun movie. Obviously, it's dumb, but I was like, you know what? Any Jurassic sequel is going to be dumb. And I think they made a really fun, entertaining movie out of the dumb plot that they had. But in that movie, they had 4 writers. Him, Derek, and 2 other people who are not writing for this one. There was some lawsuit thing. Obviously, they're not coming back. So it's just Derek and Colin this time. So basically, anything that happens in the story is right at them, all their fault. And seeing where this film goes near the end, seeing where they want to take this franchise, I did not like. I'm not on board with it. I think it's dumb. I think it's stupid. But they did it! Like I said in the intro, basically they made Jurassic World and thought, alright, this is gonna be a big hit, but it's probably not gonna be anything major, we might not be able to come back for another one, so whatever, we'll just make this one as good as possible. But then it made a lot of money! Opened with $208 million and went on to gross like around $650, something like that domestically, and then worldwide it's like over $1 billion, so it's like, well, you guys definitely have to come back, and it seems like they're struggling to find out what else are we going to do with this franchise. So a part of me wants to feel bad for them, but at the same time, there's a good movie in here, and I'd say it's just the island stuff. First act takes place on the island. Second half is transitioning more to the Lockwood Mansion, and then the third act is finishing up at the Lockwood Mansion. If you had just made this movie just a race against time thriller on Isla Nublar, and you're trying to get all the dinosaurs and transport them to another island, maybe Isla Sorna from the Lost World, because technically that's not wiped from canon, you can still go there. Like, if it was just that movie, Owen Grady is coming because he needs to get blue and no one else can, but they're on a rate, they're like against the clock because the volcano is going to erupt and destroy everything. If it was just that movie, if they just had a simple thriller with fun dinosaur action sequences, I probably would have given this movie a pass. But that's just the first act. They then transition to focus more on a really stupid continuation of the militarizing dinosaurs plot that no one liked in Jurassic World. But now it's back, and it's stretched for whatever reason. Vincent D'Onofrio, I honestly want to give him a big apology because I did not like his character in Jurassic World. At least his performance isn't as bad as all the villains here, and at least the writing for him is just a tiny bit better. Like, at least he and Chris Pratt have a conversation about why he should be militarizing these raptors. Like, at least there's something there. It's stupid, but at least it's there. In this one, it feels like all the bad guys just blindly want to do it because money, power, and that's it. And they don't really consider anything else. Like, it's written on the script, so my character just believes it. Like, screw it. And for the first act, I was thinking, like, okay, they're going back to the island, they have a really fun action sequence going on. Story's not, like, brilliant or anything, obviously, but I'm still having a decent, fun time. When they get to that second act, that's when a lot of the action starts to die down a bit, and that's when they start to flesh out more of this story and what this whole movie is all about. And at that point, I was starting to really hate it. I was really starting to dislike it. Not because it was just dragging, because it was considerably getting pretty boring, but it's when they start to focus more on the militarization and the bad guys wanting to buy the dinosaurs, and that's when I was like, okay, this is terrible. Why do you think this is a good idea? Why are you not listening to what people were saying about the militarization stuff from the first Jurassic World? You should have learned. And then in the third act, it starts to pick up again as far as entertainment goes, because that's when stuff goes horribly wrong, and that's when they're running around the mansion, and that stuff was fun because it's a fun action sequence elongated to be a third act. Like, that's when I started to get back into it again, but then it ends on a really horrible note. They reveal something in the beginning of the third act, and then several minutes later, when it's time to start to make a decision to close out the film, at first, a character isn't going to do it, and I was like, okay, I like this. I like that you aren't going to do what I think you're going to do, which is enable Jurassic World 3 to happen. But because of a plot twist that happened earlier, a certain character is persuaded then to make a decision that enables Jurassic World 3 to happen. Like, why? Why? That's so dumb. It comes out of nowhere, and it basically just says, oh yeah, this plot twist only exists so we can make another film. That's it. It's just such a lazy script. You could have just made a simple thriller on this island, but instead you wanted to overcomplicate things. You wanted to push it forward to the next Jurassic World movie, but you didn't think, what's the audience going to respond to the most? Did you really think that shifting the film's premise and scenario was actually going to win audiences over? Like, do you think that's what audiences want to see? Basically, a second half of your film being what a lot of people didn't like about Jurassic World. So that's basically the big thing that kills this movie for me, is just how stupid this plot is. It is literally the dumbest Jurassic film ever written. Ever! And this is coming off of Jurassic World, arguably the dumbest one before this one. If you thought Jurassic World was dumb, You ain't seen nothing yet. Seeing the directions they took in Fallen Kingdom, honestly, it's kind of insulting to anyone's intelligence. Like, Jesus Christ, I can buy a debate. I can buy a debate between whether we want to save the dinosaurs from the exploding volcano or if we want to just leave them there to go extinct. Like, I can somewhat buy that. Like, Claire has a monologue that basically kind of lets you in on her mindset on why she's trying to save them from earlier on in the movie, why she started up a dinosaur protection agency thing. And I was thinking, like, okay, I can somewhat buy that debate, but now that you're actually having villains fully believe we need to use these dinosaurs in everyday life, we need to buy them, weapon them up, militarize them, we need to make another genetically modified dinosaur that's just going to freak out the same way the Indominus did in the last one, that's when it starts to get really annoying, because it's like, dude, stop retreading what we've already seen and didn't like. Try to do something that audiences will actually respond to and have fun with, and then just move on with their lives afterwards. Because face it, no Jurassic sequel at this point is going to live up to Jurassic Park. Anyone expecting that mindset is stupid to begin with. You are in a dumb scenario as soon as you decide to write another Jurassic film. The least you can do is do what you did with Jurassic World, make it as fun as you can. And Fallen Kingdom, sure, it has some fun moments. That's all J.A. Bayona. He really elevated the action sequences in this film. The use of animatronics is also very good. Like, there's one sequence involving Blue that was actually very, like, heartfelt. And there's also another scene of heart, like, at the end of the first act that I was genuinely surprised at. Like, something was actually tugging at my heartstrings. I was like, oh my god. Heart in this movie? No way! The blend of the animatronic and also the CGI is also very well handled. I thought the CG is very impressive here. And also the score by Michael Giacchino, mwah, loved it. I think it's a better score than the first Jurassic World score, and Michael Giacchino did both. Seeing him elevate his work to Fallen Kingdom's level is very impressive. I think he did a fantastic job with the score. So I hope you guys see why I'm so conflicted about this. Because I like Owen and Claire together. I think they're good characters to follow. I think Chris Pratt is a great leading man too. The CGI is very impressive. I love the animatronic use. I loved the action sequences when they were there and actually focused on and distracting me from the stupid plot. I love the score. I love the cinematography at points and the lighting and all this stuff. What kills it though is a lot of terrible characters, a really stupid plot that you'd think they wouldn't go for, but they do. They can also have some pretty stupid dialogue and an ending that is so infuriating to me. And it's not even like one of the worst endings like in film history, but it just, what it promises of the next Jurassic film, I do not like that idea. I also don't like that they spoiled most of it in the trailers, but whatever. Frick it. Who cares about trailers? I'm just saying that what they did to end this film, it literally only showed that they wanted to write a film that planned a third film instead of actually writing a good, fun movie. Also, I stuck around for a post-credit scene, and it was the most pointless thing I'd ever seen. It was a scene that belonged into a montage earlier, but for some reason, they cut it out of the montage and just put it into a post-credit scene. Like, what was the point? I stuck around for it because I heard in an article, like, there's a post-credit scene, don't miss it. It's important for the future of Jurassic. I was like, oh boy, I want to see it. And then I stick around, and I'm just thinking, like, man, this movie's so mediocre. And then I get to this final post-credit scene that's like an FU to the audience, like, yeah, I can't believe you stuck around for this crap. There's a part of me that wants to say that this is a guilty pleasure kind of fun movie like the first Jurassic World is, except I think Jurassic World isn't just a guilty pleasure. I think it's actually like a legit, good, fun film. Fallen Kingdom doesn't get to guilty pleasure route because when you get to that second act and it starts to lull a little bit, that's when you start to notice how stupid everything is, but you notice how the movie is trying to take it seriously. It wants you to take it seriously. And I'm sitting there as an audience member going, this is stupid. I already knew that going in, but seeing how you're actually writing this, it's even stupider than I thought. It got stupider than what I thought it was going to do. I didn't like what they did with the characters either. It's just overall it's such a mixed bag that I can't even take it. I hated almost every character except the obvious main ones that I like from the other films. And I also enjoyed a lot of the action sequences, but then there's a lot of dumb plot scenes, and the second act is dedicated to plot. First act has some fun island stuff. It's not a perfect first act because there's still some bad story, but still, there's some fun island stuff. The third act has a fun mansion monster chase stuff going on, but then it ends on a horrible note that makes you just feel like you watched a filler episode of something. I really wish I could have recommended this to you guys. I wish I had as much fun with this movie as I did the first Jurassic World, but I think after this, Colin Trevorrow needs to go. And like I said earlier, I'm not going to blame J.A. Bayona because he's literally just the director. Like, all he had to do was direct excellently, and I think he did a very good job. Colin Trevorrow and Derek Connolly, though, have written the script for the first Jurassic and now this, and it progressed from fun but dumb to dumber and somewhat fun. And now they're bringing Colin back to do Jurassic World 3, directing, and he's also going to write. Not just with Derek Connolly, he's bringing on another screenwriter from a previous film that came out this year, a film that I mentioned earlier in this review, called Pacific Rim Uprising. They got one of the screenwriters of that cluster to write Jurassic World 3, and Colin's writing with her, and he's directing. I wish I could say that I have hope for Jurassic World 3, but he's coming back. And he's already messed up Jurassic so much. Like, he's ruining the franchise. Like, you see the ending of this movie and you're like, you're going off in a completely different direction that isn't even Jurassic anymore. To sum everything up, this movie basically pulls a Book of Henry. The first half is fine and you're watching it and you're like, alright, I kind of like this, I can get into it. Second act happens and more dumb stuff happens and you're just getting more and more angry at the film, and when it ends you're just stuck with a good first half and then a really trashy second half, and it just kind of averages out to a mediocre score. I'm going to give Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom a C. Is there impressive stuff about this movie? Of course. The acting from Pratt and Claire is very good. I wish I could say the same for the other actors, but I didn't really care for their performances, and I didn't really care for the characters either. I thought the action was fun. I thought the suspense was really well handled. J.A. Bayona is not to blame. It is all in the script. Like, one more retouch of the script. Change it up so you just take that first act and stretch it out to be an entire film, and you have a fun movie. Instead, they wanted to overcomplicate it and make it something that Jurassic isn't. And I can't look forward to Jurassic World 3. No matter what cool stuff they put in the trailers, I just can't look forward to it anymore. I'm sorry. I'm totally done being hyped at all for this film series. Sorry, Chris Pratt. But if you've seen Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, leave in the comments below of what you thought of it. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.